Hey, welcome to Unused episode number 357.
Hey.
Magnum. It's the Magnum episode.
I like it.
Yeah.
The gun.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, of course, he's like, pew pew.
Yes.
Not the big booms.
Do you feel lucky?
Yeah. So, hey, we got another fun episode. We're going to ramble on some Star Wars today a little bit. If you haven't watched The Acolyte, too bad. We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about it.
If you don't have plans to watch it, great. Listen in. If you have plans to watch it, you don't want any spoilers, don't watch. We'll catch up later.
Yeah. Just save the episode and come back and watch it after you.
Yeah. So, Scott, why don't you knock out your quick ad read and we'll get going.
All right. Team Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology like this StreamYard platform to maximize your home buying and selling experience, we never forget. At the center, it's a people business. And we really do mean it when we say we put you first. It's why this year, a lot of agents are really struggling because inventory levels are so low. I've heard it from a number of sources. Overall, we're seeing 10, 15% drops in people's production. We're having record years, Jill and I. Why? It's all because of word of mouth from our past clients and people who have used us. And they return to us or they tell other people about us. So we really appreciate that. Referrals are greatly appreciated. One of those past clients came to us with a need. They have this house for sale. So it's coming soon. It just went up on the MLS today. Showings begin this Friday. So it's $220,000 in St. Clair Shores. It's a little 1,000 square foot house. It's in great condition as far as the bones, but it does need updating on the inside. So this is a perfect house if you're an entry-level investor, or even if you're experienced, but you just want a quick flip, or you're looking for something that you can put a little sweat equity into and live in yourself. It'd be a great starter home. So like I said, the bones of this property, really good. So it's priced at $220,000. We're expecting a lot of interest in this weekend. We have an open house on Saturday. If you want a private showing, give Jill or I a call. I put it in the comment section there. 586-232-5144 is our number. So check it out.
Well, Scott and I started off right away into the Acolyte before we realized, it's 10 o'clock. We got to get going here.
Yeah, this whole morning just flew by.
Yeah, so we'll get started in that in a minute here. But other than real estate, how was your week, Scott?
Really busy with real estate. Just working a lot of leads. We have this house that just went live, and we have 2 other leads that came in, so we're starting on those as well. Another house that will be listed in about 2-3 weeks, and then a buyer we're working on in Davison. So that's taken up a lot of the time. We did watch a movie I wouldn't mind bringing up too.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to see if you've watched it. It's like Netflix or Prime or something. I forget who it's on. I want to say Netflix, but it's called Dream Scenario. I think Nicolas Cage. It's a very interesting movie. Did you see it?
I haven't seen that. But I know of it. I just want to. It's like, I should watch that. I know it's on Max. It looks like.
Is it Max? Okay, yeah.
I haven't seen it right now. Oh, maybe let's just watch 7 more. Let's see. Maybe it's on everything here.
It's been out for a couple of years.
Hulu's got it. So yeah, it's been out 23.
Okay, yeah. So I'll just give a spoiler-free one review. And so Jill and I watched this. The first 75% were like, this is amazing. Where are they going with this? It was so awesome. The last 25% was just awful. And I'm like, what the heck did we watch? And so we went online. I was like, is it just us? Like, did we not understand the ending? No, everybody's same comments. It's like, brilliant movie until the end. I don't know what they did with the end. I have no idea why they went the way they did. I feel like this is a common trend in a lot of movies where they have a great setup, but they don't know how to end it.
Well, this is what you and I talked about last week even. They have an idea, and they try to build it around this idea. The problem is they don't have a resolution.
Correct.
And without knowing your ending, all you are is just walking down the path.
Yes.
And all this stuff's happening. And you're like, well, we're 2 hours into this thing. We better end it.
Yep. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage himself, brilliant performance. It's amazing. The premise of the movie is this man. He's just a mundane, average, everyday guy. He's a nobody in life. He's a professor, but as far as he's no celebrity, he just goes about his day. And for some reason, he starts appearing in everybody's dreams.
Okay.
Um, and it starts becoming known, and the people start talking like, "Hey, that's the guy in my dream," and it starts spreading. And all of a sudden, he starts becoming famous, and now he's not a nobody. And what you start realizing in the movie is how he appears in people's dreams is a direct reflection on whatever he's going through. So at the beginning, when he just feels like a mundane, invisible person, in the dreams, he's just there. He's observing, but he's just walking by. He's never interacting. And then he starts getting excited. He starts acting crazy because all this fame is in him. And then it starts revealing the dark side of fame. How because of his fame, it's taken a really negative toll on him and his family. And then the dreams start becoming dark. It's a really cool exploration of all this. So you're like, wow, where are they taking this? And then it's like this crazy left turn, and it's like, where did what? And I don't know. So, is it worth the watch? If you're bored, it's worth the watch. Like I said, the first 75% A plus.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage A plus. You forget it's him. You know, he's a very recognizable person. You really forget it's Nicolas Cage in this performance.
Yeah. Well, I was looking it up a little bit. It's done by the A24 Films. They're the ones that did Civil War. They got a ton of movies coming out. And I can say this, a lot of stuff I see from them is kind of like that. It's like they have these ideas, they make these movies, and then it's just like, yeah. You know, because I'm looking at the list of stuff here, and really nothing's jumping out like, oh, that was a good movie. But they've done a ton of movies and shows and things like that. You know, but I think it's got to be something with how they produce movies. But it's like I said, I think it boils down to it's not just them, it's other production companies. You know, early on in college writing classes, you know, the basis is you got to know where you're going. You don't have to know every detail, but you got to know where you're going. And I've run into that with a lot of people. It's, you know, I've had people tell me, I want to do this story, and they have this idea they want to put in the middle of it. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the rest of your story? Well, that is the story. No, that's not your story. That's either your destination or that's a scene. You know, especially the one that's like, I want a scene where I'm banging my girlfriend the whole time. And I'm like, that's a porn. That's a porno, dude. You know, no, if you want to do a story, write a story in that, you need to have, you need a reason that you're doing the story, what your character's doing, where they're going. And that's something that can happen in the story. But and literally that's someone that told me that, you know, I've had a couple people tell me that, well, I want to basically write this erotic story around this one little scene. I'm like, well, that's whatever, dude. You know, not gonna be, nobody's gonna care. But yeah, if you don't have if you don't know where you're going, then you have no idea how to get there. And like I said, I watch this a lot of movies, and I actually a lot of these movies, like they tell you the premise in the beginning, and that's their idea. And 15, 20 minutes into it anymore, I'd shut it off because like, well, you've told me the idea, and there's nothing good going to happen to the rest of it because nothing's going on.
Yeah. Well, it's like we talked about many times. So the two key things you need: where are you going, and why are you going? What is the purpose of the story? Like, okay, we're going to California. Okay, I know the destination, but if I don't know the why, I might not pack correctly. You know, when you know your why and you know your where, that's your ending. That's the climax of the movie and what happens. And now you're telling a story to take the person on a journey to the why you're even telling the story. But I think the problem with Hollywood is, and most people in Hollywood now, is they no longer have a why. It's, we need content. So it's, oh, good gimmick. Put it out. And they really don't care where the destination is. It's like, hey, it's the journey. No, the destination matters. That's your finale.
They're treating movies like people talk about their lives anymore. Oh, it's not the destination, it's your journey. Right. No, it's actually in a movie, it's a destination, needed an ending. You know, our lives are one thing where our lives are the journey and our ending is death. We already know that. Yeah. You know, when we die, our ending is we want to enjoy the journey along the way. But when you go to a movie, you're 90 minutes to 2.5 hours, 3 hours. If you walk out going, you know, I understand if it's like a part 1 or part 2, like the new Kevin Costner movie. They're already saying it's a part 1, part 2 is coming out in August. I'm going to know that going into that. Dune, going to Dune initially didn't say part 1. It said it at the end.
Right.
And that pissed people off. So when part two came out, people know, okay, yeah, this is part two. Still, the ending with it was an ending, but it still left a lot open. But there is a lot more story
Mhm.
within Dune than just the
Yeah.
what we saw in those two things. So
Well, and I think part of the problem too with studios is their misunderstanding of what it is to tell a
mhm.
story and their misunderstanding of what content is. Look at Star Wars. The original 3 movies.
Mhm.
That sustained a fan base for 40 years. They didn't have to come out with weekly TV shows and
Well, actually,
annual
and
movies and
realistically, it sustained a fan base from 1983 until 1999 when a new movie came out. They did
right,
some re-releases back in
right,
'97, but the
right,
fan base kept going.
right.
Uh, it
And
was
we kept
funny,
consuming this content.
yeah. The content we had starting in what 1991 with Heir to the Empire was books.
Mm-hmm.
There was still some comics here and there, but mainly it was
No,
books and novelizations. That's how we got our story.
yeah,
They didn't have to thought tons of movies and TV shows stuff like that, but it also, while we always had definite endings with those movies, they did carry off from one to the other. Um, Even at the end of the Jedi, it's like, oh, people want to know what happened next. The books kind of told us what happened next. We
right,
got more of that.
yeah,
Where nowadays for movies, though, it's all about taking that general. It really is, and this is where the problem lies. And you've talked to us too, is a little bit. It's TikTok.
right,
It's the limited capacity to pay attention, and the
yeah,
problem with that is that it's now become the limited capacity to actually create beyond an idea, which will
right,
last for a minute and
right.
2 minutes on a TikTok
And
video.
and when you create a strong story, you don't need so much content because people will rewatch a strong story.
Yeah,
And if Netflix came out with something that was amazing, I would watch it and I'd be like,
yeah,
man, I want to see that again. And maybe a week or two later, I watch again. Like the when Marvel was in its prime, and hopefully they return to that.
yeah,
I watched Avengers. I watched Captain America: Winter Soldier. So many of those movies in the theater. I would probably see them 3 times in the theater. Then
oh
once
yeah,
they released it, I would buy them and do that. So you had multiple sales points for these movies to make money for the studios. Now, because they're just putting out gimmicks, there's no rewatchability factor. So it's like it's a one and done. I go to the movie, watch it once on $5 Tuesday,
hmm
and then when it comes out, I don't buy it. When it comes on streaming, I don't watch it because it was like it wasn't good enough for my time again.
right, and
And I
that's the
think
whole
that's where
thing.
they're missing the boat.
Yes, it's like one of the best movies I've seen is now available on Netflix. And I should say, clarify, the last movie I've seen in the last year. And it's in the theaters. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it again. Godzilla Minus One is now available on
Yep.
Netflix. Not been released yet on Blu-ray in the United States. It was released as a limited edition in
Yeah,
Japan. I would buy a Blu-ray because that movie was so
it
good.
was
I
excellent.
want to physically have it to watch it whenever I want. But I
Right.
will definitely watch it again on Netflix. It told a story, and the story
A
it
good
had
story.
a good story, and you had this great story surrounding this guy who was
Oh,
had been in World War II as a pilot with Japan. It told an aspect of what happened at the end of World War II with him and going forward, and it was basically the creation of Godzilla that leads into the first Godzilla movie,
yep,
Japanese version Gojira,
yep,
um, and it told a solid story. And if you took out almost all the monster stuff, there was a great story just in
yep,
him and the relationship he had with the woman he met
yep.
and the kid and all this stuff going on. So there was a great story there already. So they had this
Right.
story and they were able to work it around this other great story of Godzilla.
Well, and these great, this was storytelling.
Hmm.
What was the why of Godzilla? The why was on 2 levels. One, you had the individual man and his story of redemption and for trying to forgive himself. But it was also the story of humanity and the strength of humanity to rise through our unity, and we're stronger together to overcome odds that seem impossible.
Hmm.
And a modern day studio, such as Godzilla and King Kong, has no clue about this. They just think a monster movie is about giant things blowing everything up.
And that's a lot of what I go see those American ones for, but I like a good story.
Right.
And the Japanese one, minus one, it told the best Godzilla story ever.
I agree. by
And I
far.
hope, and there's talks of maybe a sequel. I've saw a couple of things pop up. Will there be a sequel? They're talking about a sequel.
Right.
If there is, it'd be great. Well, and they can call it Godzilla. They can now do Godzilla plus one, which would be a year after the original Godzilla. So they keep that
Yep.
original Godzilla
Right.
movie as the canon,
Right.
and building around it now.
But even when you go to the old Godzilla movies,
Mhm.
it's always about this. It's the overwhelming force of nature, basically, and our smallness in front of that, and how do we survive it? That's a good story. Go to the Bruce Willis one in space, Armageddon.
Yeah.
Giant asteroid coming. What happened? It was everyone pooling their resources to send these guys up and to save everyone. It's it's the power of working together.
The premise,
power of love.
it was a basic premise of here goes an asteroid, we have to blow it up. It'd been done many times before. There was a movie Meteor, came out in 1979. I remember seeing it as a kid in the theaters, and it had all these great actors in it. And they work with the Russians to point these satellites that they had with nuclear missiles to blow it up. Well, this one was they had to go actually plant the nuclear missile, and what they do, they have to go work with the Russian up on the space station to get to where they have to go. And it wasn't about the gimmick was blowing up the asteroid.
Right.
The story was about the people
and the sacrifice.
And actually, if you ever get a chance, I have it somewhere here. Criterion Collection came out with basically an extended edition of Armageddon.
Oh.
And it really adds a lot more story, not just time, but story, because you get Bruce Willis with his dad more. You learn more about the guy with the kid. They expand the story of some of these key characters that really rounded out the story a little more. The original one's just fine. I like to expand it as on the Criterion Collection because it added so much more story to it. And whenever you see Criterion Collection for a movie, it's going to be one of the better qualities. And if it's expanded, director's cut, stuff like that, they don't just do it just for the gimmick of releasing an extended cut or unrated cut. There's a reason behind it because they are very particular which films they put under their Criterion Collection moniker. And there's a lot that coming in and out of print and have never come back in. It's like Hard Boiled. It's a John Woo film with Chow Yun-fat, and it's a great film, and you can hardly find it anywhere. I think it's more bootlegged than anything right now, but Criterion was the official release in the United States. Great film. It was an independent we did over there, and the reason he did independent was he wanted to have the main character played by Chow Yun-fat, wanted to play in a jazz club, and of course Hong Kong at the time had no idea about jazz in the 90s as well. It was there, but it wasn't really there.
Right.
So, but that's quality, and that's again storytelling. And you look at at the time we had two Meteor films going. We had Armageddon and we had Deep Impact.
Yep.
And both were actually enjoyable. I liked Armageddon better. I thought it was more rounded. The Deep Impact, you had too much of just kind of just going back and forth before they finally get to the point where it's going to hit, and they had this big action scene at the end.
Yeah. So your why is important, your destination is important, and actually I think this ties in really good with the Acolyte coming up here. But
now for stuff I've watched this last week or so, watched a little bit here and there. I did watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind for the first time in a very long time. And there's several versions of it. They're all just a couple minutes off, so it's really about the same thing in that. But again, another movie that had a particular destination, and in some ways it feels dated because it's all set in the 70s and that stuff there, but special effects for the ships and all that stuff feel very dated, but it still is actually holds up as an overall story. I mean, you're following this guy who's being basically manipulated by the aliens and trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with them, and he's going to go and figure it out. And I forgot how much I enjoyed that movie. It's one of those movies you can't watch just constantly put it on like a Star Wars or Indiana Jones or something like that. But definitely for a type of alien film that was a little different at the time, because it was they were talking about meeting these aliens and seeing the different things. They tied in real world facts into it, like with the planes that went down during the train mission. And nope, it was aliens. That was over the Bermuda Triangle. So Bermuda Triangle is all aliens now. So but yeah, it's something I enjoyed seeing that again. They're re-releasing it in July in the theaters for like a 1 day or 1 or 2 day thing, I think. But I watched it at home because I was like, well, I wanted to watch it now. So that one, and then I watched found a copy of PCU to watch.
PCU?
Yes. Oh, it's from the early 90s. Basically, it's Port Chester University is what the PCU stands for, but really it's Political Correctness University. And
Oh,
if you've never seen it, it's a comedy. It's got Jeremy Piven in it. He plays Draws, and basically they talk about like on this campus the frats have been banned. They have all the different protest groups, things like that. So it's kind of like today.
it's real
So
life.
he's taking this kid who's what they call a pre-frosh around to see if he wants to go to the school. He's kind of forced to do it, and because his buddy signed him up for this thing, and he has basically said, "Fine, I'll take you around." And it was payback because his buddy that forced it, he had put milk bones in the guy's luggage on the way back from Jamaica, so the drug sniffing dogs went nuts.
Oh,
Which is the joke. It's a comedy. It's a straight up comedy and stuff like that. And you got George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic in it at the end. The one girl that's singing with the white girl, actually, I went to high school with her. She graduated a few years ahead of me.
oh, really?
And that. So, and then a bunch of other actors and actresses you'll recognize here and there. Not Jeremy Piven, I think is the one that's done the most since then. The kid that stars in it, though, he was in Great Outdoors with John Candy, played his son. He did a movie called Book of Love and a bunch of other stuff around the late 80s, early 90s, and that stuff. It's a comedy. It's funny because you get to different groups. So, you got the African American group, you got the protest group, you got the gay group, you got the womenist group. And back in the early 90s, that's kind of how everything was segmented on campuses, it felt like, even at Eastern Michigan University. So,
yeah.
But yeah, check out PCU sometime. So, and if you can't find it, you can find it online. Just type archive.org/PC space PCU, and it popped up for me because it's not streaming anywhere, and I don't know why. But
you mentioned Close Encounters. The movie I remember really liking, and I never see it anywhere, but along that same genre. But I have a feeling if I ever find it and rewatch it, it probably doesn't hold up anymore. But do you remember the movie Area 51?
Area 51, yeah, wasn't that a
wasn't that
it was an older movie, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They did one. They did a 2015 one, a horror film. Or was it Area 51 or was it Hangar 18?
Oh wait, you might be right. I think it's Hangar 18 now that you say that.
Yeah, 1980 movie. Film. Yeah.
Yeah, Hangar 18. Look at how good you are. I'm like randomly messing everything up, and you're telling me. Let me see who's in it.
It's been a long time. It's got Darren McGavin in it. I pulled up something here and then Robert Vaughn, Gary Collins. I remember this one, but it's been so long since I've seen it. I'd have to watch it again. It's basically it's a cover up following a UFO incident aboard the space shuttle.
Yeah, so, I absolutely loved this movie when I was a kid. But
you can watch it on you can watch it on Tubi, TUBI. That's a free streaming service.
I'll have to look it up. Maybe I'll watch it this week. Like even this, watching the trailer, like the special effects look so horrible. When I was a kid, I loved this one.
But back then, when on her TVs,
it's so bad.
The stuff was bad, but we enjoyed it. And let me see here. It's available on that archive.org. So if you go look at archive.org, it's there too. So
here's the.
But did you find the trailer?
Well, on IMDb, they have the trailer playing there, so you can tell like. It's definitely dated. Just look at it.
Oh yeah,
but I loved it at the time. Oh, and the dad from Christmas Story.
Right, that's Darren McGavin.
Nice.
Yeah. What was the other one?
I feel like though with no sound on, I'm watching like the Naked Gun or something. Yeah. I feel like Leslie Nielsen's gonna come in.
Well, another one from that 70s era that was a little cheesy too, and I'll share this one. It's just a screen like you did with that is Capricorn 1 from 1977.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's where they were basically the movie speculated that the moon landing was all faked, but what happened was they had something happen with the actual ship they sent up, so they had to basically say they were dead. So they tried to cover it up and actually kill the guys, and they have to go up. I believe this one has the juice in it. Let me see here. I believe OJ. Yep. There's OJ. Yeah, Elliot Gould, James Brolin, Sam Waterston. So he's got a lot of names. OJ Simpson in it, and so they have to basically start killing off these guys, and then the ones trying to get away, and they're holding this memorial. And he comes at the end, he's like running up to him "I'm alive. It was fake," But it's a cheesy 70s sci-fi movie and stuff like that. But yeah, there's Hangar 18. Boy, I hadn't thought of that in a long time. I'm definitely gonna have to.
I'll have to try. You said it's on Tubi?
Tubi, Tubi,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, I have that.
And then, or if you do like say, archive.org, you can find it there, and there's places to download it. So,
Nice.
and you can watch it from there as well.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah, it's it's one of those things too. It's like a lot of those movies, they're cheesy, but they had a point to the ending.
Yeah.
They were getting somewhere.
Yeah, even though
And
they were cheesy, they're better storytellers than a lot of them now.
well, and that was the whole thing. If you go back, a lot of great stories from back then. They may look, people are like, oh, it's just so bad special effects. Well, if all you care about special effects, you can watch a lot of this new stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great special effects, garbage stories, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of special. It's just like the one I told about last week with J-Lo. That was a horrible story. It was a crappy story. Nobody cared. Flashy special effects. People say, oh, I liked it. It was not bad.
Yeah.
No, you were just caught up with J-Lo and the special effects. That was it.
A good story will hold up even with a cheap budget.
Yes.
A bad story will fail with an expensive budget.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way it is.
I've said something similar with comics. It's like you can have a great story and crappy artwork, and people will read it. Yep. You can have the best artwork in the world, but if the story's crap, nobody's going to care.
Exactly.
Right. Jim Lee draws great. He could draw the best story in the world, but if it's a story, if the story sucks, nobody's going to care past issue 1 or 2. If you get a multi-issue story,
right?
So it's things like that. So tell your stories, and I think part of the problem is that's what the problem with the box office is. We're not seeing good stories.
Yeah.
And that's what's getting people. And there's a lot of content they could be putting out there, but they're again, I think some's rushed. I think some of it's just, they don't really care. I think we've gone more back. For a while, they felt like that Hollywood actually said, okay, people are a little smarter. They were trying to do something a little slightly better for a while. Now I'm going to point, people don't care. They'll watch anything. So we're back to Steven Seagal type films, like same thing over and over again. It's just, I love Steven Seagal. Yes, same movie. They just changed location. Even Jean-Claude Van Damme, I like a lot of his movies, but after a while, I was like, they're all the same movie. They're trying to redo Bloodsport in another way.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. So, but then there's The Acolyte.
The Acolyte, yeah, that got released last night. The first 2 episodes. What, 8 episodes total, I think.
Yes, and so we got 6 more weeks. It goes through just till July 17th, I think, is the last week. So it's let's see here. Get the poster up. I didn't really pay attention to the poster, but there's a lot of information in the poster when you look at it to kind of get you going here.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff that hasn't happened yet that they show in the poster. So there we go.
Got it.
Yep.
There we go.
So you can see here, it's like when you look, you see there's 2 people here. They're twins. You find that out pretty early on. You have a Padawan here. You have a couple Jedis. Here's all your spoilers. So if you don't want to hear anymore, cut it out now.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed in the fact that Carrie-Anne Moss's segment was limited dialogue. It felt like they redid a couple scenes from, it was all done in one scene though, of the Matrix, Matrix style fighting with the Force.
Here's my worry with the series. The lead up to this, for all the trailers, they put such a heavy focus on Carrie-Anne Moss being in it.
Yes.
And she's literally 2 minutes of it. And unless they're going to do flashbacks, she's done. If that's your strongest point to make on a 8-hour series, well, they're 40 minutes, so 6 hours worth of content, and your majority marketing is on the first 2 minutes, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and the thing I read was Kathleen Kennedy, person that wrote this and is directing it, and that is Leslie Headland. She wrote it out, and Kathleen. I read this. It was Kathleen. She says, I read it. It was great. I told her to go back and redo it like something else she had done previously. So she wrote this great Star Wars story, and then she was told to go change it to be more like something else that she has done in the past.
Well, and according to interviews with her, she said she wanted to, and this is where my concerns are. This is from her mouth, not my assumptions. She said when she saw Frozen, she saw a lovely lesbian movie and wanted to do something like that using the Star Wars platform.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Frozen is sisters, not
that's
not
what she
did. Love story.
Well, if she says it's lesbians, then that's she's got here. She's got twin sisters.
She got twin sisters. Yep, that's
and
supposed to be Anna and Elsa.
yeah.
One is on the good side, one's on the bad side, and so we'll see. We'll see if one of them gets poisoned by and has to be healed by a kiss. We'll see. But yeah, and then they're releasing it for June. I'm like, oh god, here we go. So far, I have to say, none of that's in there. But the writing is so flat. I
It was
didn't
just
care
okay.
about any characters.
The problem I have is some of the setup, and I feel like this is going to fall into the same traps we see with several stuff around Star Wars and even some of the Marvel stuff. Is like we have a lot of cool things we want to show, and it's going to be a very basic story.
Yeah,
And it's been the first two episodes were fine. I didn't mind watching them. You know,
yeah,
in terms of I never feel like I wanted to shut them off. I want to see where it's going.
right.
I like the fact that what we see here down in the bottom here, that is the Wookiee Jedi,
Hmm.
which was talked about. And we see him at the very end of the second episode. He's mentioned, and we see him. I was like, oh, cool. They show him. Only problem I had was I felt he looked more like Harry and the Hendersons Wookiee and not.
I that and I was trying to figure out why. I don't know if the actor they hired was just lumbering through or what. Like the guy they hired, and I can't say his name. It's a Swedish name to replace Peter Mayhew as Chewie. He got the mannerisms down, and he
Mhm.
feels like a Wookiee in the costume. This I had the same thought. He felt like Bigfoot. Even my mom even commented. Me and my mom watched it together. My mom even commented. She's like, "Is that Bigfoot?"
Well, and it's the same guy. It's Junus.
It is.
Yeah,
Maybe he was trying too hard
it's the
not to be like Chewie.
probably, and he does some Force stuff.
Yep.
But I felt I so much it wasn't even so much the lumbering. I felt the lumbering. I was like, okay, so he's like, it looks like he's banished himself a little bit. So I felt
Yeah.
like, okay, so he's in the
It's
middle
like in
somewhere.
the Yoda exile.
Yeah, but the problem I had was I'm watching it going, boy, this outfit looks horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
it looked like just a bad costume. And I'm like, this is not up to par for what I expect to see of a Wookiee. We've seen a lot of good. I
Yeah.
mean, this actually took it back almost to the holiday special.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh
It
my
just didn't
god.
feel right. And I couldn't place my finger on why. But we'll see. For me, out of the whole cast, the only Carrie Ann Moss I did enjoy seeing. I was
Yeah, I was looking
I
forward to
was
seeing more
looking
of her.
forward. Yeah. But as far as the rest of the cast, the only character who I'm actually giving any cares about is that Padawan in the middle there, in the center there with the
Yeah,
bluish skin and red eyeshadow or whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
She's an alien. She has a great personality. I do like her.
right.
Um, Everyone else completely dull. May once again, May and Oshi are the two twins. They're I don't care about them. They come across and it's such a boring character. I don't even remember the character's name. She was the dark sister going
Oh,
after
there's
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
yeah. Well, it's the third sister from
Third
of the
sister.
the third sister. So
She was so boring that I don't even remember her name. And these two are the same thing. A dull acting. She doesn't come across as angry or wanting revenge. She doesn't come across as happy. She's
yeah,
just
the thing is,
dull.
the basis we got was supposedly May, that's the darker sister, was thought to be dead, and
Darker as in dark side of the force.
yeah, we're not talking skin color here,
We're not
people.
gonna, yeah.
You know, uh, May or not May, OSHA was trained as a Jedi, came in at 8 years old, had issues, and basically was. She says she chose to leave the Jedi, but basically she was told she's not going to progress in the Jedi order,
Right. Now
so
if you
she
go back
left.
if you go back to now this isn't canon anymore, but if you go back to expanded universe, there was a process where you went through Padawan school and then you had to be chosen as a knight by a master.
Mhm.
If you did not get chosen as a knight, you were sent out of the Jedi Order, and then people would try to go into fields like agriculture or medicine and find with their limited force abilities because they don't grow anymore after that. They could use it in some other field. So I think that's what they were alluding to here is she didn't make it to knighthood, and so she left.
Well, yeah, 'cause she was a Padawan, and she was a
Right.
Padawan for the Jedi right here that I'm going around, who is from Squid Games,
Yep.
and that's Lee Jung Jae is his real name. Master
I did
Saul
like
is
his
the character.
character. I
Yeah,
liked him, but he wasn't there so far. There's not a connection for me with him.
the problem here is obviously something happened that prior to
Yeah.
where they got OSHA and she came to the Jedi Order because there was something that happened there
Right.
on her world, and that her sister was. In a lot of ways, the setup should have been telling us that story,
Should have.
and
And
leading
then do
in,
a time jump.
and then cut right through. First one should have been an hour-long episode of, here's what happened here. She goes off. You see her leaving the order, and then there's a time jump from that
Yep.
where the second episode would start, which would have been where the
Yep.
first episode is here. So we can understand a little more of what happened. All we know now is that May wants to kill all these Jedi, and
Yeah.
she's supposed to do it without a weapon, though she keeps using a weapon.
Which they haven't explained, like, why.
Yeah, and it's because and what we're assuming today is this right here is the dark person that's her master,
Right.
that's leading them there. So what happened then? That there's these 4 Jedi. One is the Master Saul. At the end of the second episode, they've already killed 2.
Right.
You know, because they killed off Carrie-Anne Moss's character, which we assume she's dead. They say she's dead. I mean, she got a knife through the heart, but it didn't look. Hey, look at something that in Star Wars that could actually throw her back the tank and she'll be all right.
This is Star Wars. Darth Maul was literally cut in half, and he came back.
Yeah. You know, the other one killed himself that we saw because she presented that, and he felt he had been in this trance with force protection around him for like 6 years or whatever. And
10 years, they said
10 years.
Yeah.
And so he's felt guilty of whatever happened. So whatever happened,
yeah,
the reveal is going to be so less impactful.
Correct.
Than if they just told us this from the beginning and moved us through that to get to where we're at now for the reasoning. You know,
and I think they're cheapening the whole thing too, in that, like, this guy, this unbelievable Force Master, where he's in a full trance, and he's so deep in the Force that she is doing everything she can to hit this guy who's sleeping in this trance, floating in the air. She can't even hit him.
Yeah,
but then he wakes up and commits suicide. It's like, what?
Yeah, I was like,
10
okay,
years you were in this.
All she had to say was, I know you're guilty, you feel guilty, and I'm here to give you,
and here's some poison,
here's some redemption and all that. And
it's like, what?
And then of course the poison was supplied by this guy here from The Good Life.
The Good Life, which also makes no sense. This character.
Yeah, he shows up and he sounds like he's straight out of The Good Life.
He's drunk.
Manny Jacinto. And he's like playing the same character, but now in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, they reveal he's a drunk.
But he's also working with the May character because he knows who the master is. And it's just the whole thing is just, okay, you're trying to tell all these people. I don't need this mystery of who these all people are for the next 8 episodes. I should know who a lot of these people are moving forward. I mean, that's one thing with Star Wars. You look at the original New Hope, we immediately got, the attack on the ship. We got Vader comes in. And with several pieces of dialogue, they pretty much explained everything we need to know about who Vader was and that. Right. And then as they introduced a couple characters, we got the full backstory we needed to continue to move forward.
Correct.
Here, they're hiding as much backstory
because they're trying to be too mysterious.
Yeah.
But if you want to go that route, then don't reveal that there's a twin so quick.
Yeah.
Like, make it confusing to the, like,
yeah.
So anyways, the character there, though, the person helping May. So he's this drunken guy who's doing things to help her as a supplier.
Yeah.
Okay, now May is angry at him. She's a master assassin who's taken on full-blown Jedi masters. But she comes after him, surprise attacks him to kill him, and he blocks her and overpowers her. It's like, what? How? What? Like, that made no sense. Like, there's all this stupidness going on. Then they know who the next target is, the Jedi Wookiee. They know that's the next target, but the green bald lady who's like, no, we must discuss this first. You have to come. Yeah. We have Zoom. We can do a hologram Zoom meeting. Oh, no, you have to come all the way back here so we can have a meeting, even though we know where the assassin's going.
Yeah.
What? Like, it's all stupid.
Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, again, a lot of stuff is not in context with what would have happened and ways they've set up Star Wars.
It's poor writing. It's poor writing.
And I think it's almost like, well, we need to have this or this. So now it's like, well, you got to come back so we can show this. Instead of just doing like they did in the Star Wars movies of, they probably want to show the council. Instead of just showing the council and having the person you need still out, a la Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 2, and saying, Okay, here we go. Just go here, or pop
Right.
up on the screen. Yeah, go here. Don't come back. Don't spend days coming back to go days out again.
Yeah.
It's these little things that I think are taken away from what could be a
Yeah.
decent story.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about with this thing is I'm going to get through this whole thing and be like, will everyone will watch it again? And right now,
Right now, no.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's good enough for me to keep watching with the hope it will get better.
yeah.
That's my hope.
Well, Robert here says this. He goes, he thinks they're doing it right. He likes
Mhm.
the fact that they got that sister is going after the Jedi due to what the Jedi did. Sister didn't see what the Jedi did. Problem is nobody's seen what the Jedi did. She's just said, "I'm going to kill them all. It's revenge." And it's like, why?
Well,
Why are you doing revenge?
but she does know. Well, what they've revealed so far
Yeah,
is
both the other OSHA knows because she was
right.
there.
She said we saw. So it's but this is the same backstory as the third sister. It's I witnessed something, now I want revenge. They're telling it's slightly different, but it's basically the same story.
Yeah.
It's it's the same dull, non-charismatic actress who doesn't have the acting chops to play both sides. Somebody who is a good guy and somebody who is a bad guy fueled by revenge. Like I'm not getting that vibe at all from this actress.
Yeah. And we already had 3 times in 2 episodes. Oh, yeah, that's her. That's her. It's like
Yeah.
we should be past all that by now. I mean, it's one time it's fine. Any more than that, and if it keeps going on, it's like, okay, this is ridiculous.
And even how they're unfolding the story is, I feel choppy. Like for instance, they kill off Carrie Ann Moss in the first 2 minutes, but then the character wakes up to an alarm. I'm like, oh, was that a dream? Was that a force vision? Like,
Well,
what's going on?
she did have the one dream where she talked to her sister.
Yeah, later on they do that.
Yeah.
But at the very beginning, I'm like, did we do a time jump? Are we now in?
Yeah. Again, if they'd gone back and set up the twin aspect,
correct, we would understand
and set up what happened.
Yeah,
then we'd have more understanding of what's going on. And be like, okay, yeah, we know that this is not the right person. I mean, you kind of knew that right away. It's gonna be a little mistaken identity, but then they're gonna move forward as things start to converge.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me that they're making it such a mystery at the beginning, but then reveal it in 30 minutes. Either carry that mystery on, or do like you said, tell the backstory. I think the best thing, based on what they're doing so far, is exactly how you're saying. The first episode should be an hour long of what happened.
Yeah.
Then the second episode is 10 years later. And now we move forward.
Right.
That would have made sense. And it would also make it also having those 4, and you could leave some of it vague so that you could imply something dark happened or whatever it was, and then reveal that later in the season. You don't have to reveal the twist, but reveal like the relationships between the Jedi. And like, I didn't feel like there was any like real connection between the 4 Jedi, which supposedly were bonded through this tragic event so long ago. So I don't know. It's crappy writers who are elevated to fill a box, and that's all it is.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, I think, is this the person that's spearheading the Acolyte here. She's known for The Bachelor.
The what?
I mean, that's what it's The Bachelor.
Oh,
I'm like, really? You're
right.
And she was she's a producer and writer for Bachelorette 2012.
Oh, well, there you go. Quality.
She did Russian Doll 2019, which I heard a little bit about, but I didn't get into that.
I tried watching it. I didn't care for it.
Yeah. Sleeping with Other People 2015. So.
Oh yeah, all obviously strong sci-fi writing.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, you don't need to have sci-fi writing. You just need to have strong, good writing. I'm looking, going, why would you be given helm of this stuff? You did that. She did. She was an executive. I mean, I've seen this stuff pop up. Going, how did you get up to? Her first producing credit is Bachelorette. And that's that's a movie. Actually, it's a movie. I thought that was the stupid series. So she did this. She directed it, wrote it. Stars Kirsten Dunst. I never saw it. I thought it was the actual Bachelorette show. But I'm looking at this stuff going, okay, this stuff here, that's fine. She writes a lot of female centric stuff, so that's why she got it. But the thing is,
Right.
like, if she really wrote a good Star Wars story, which is the article I read, it was interviewing Kathleen Kennedy. So like, she wrote Star Wars, then she was told to go back and make it like her other stuff,
Right.
And I'm like going, okay, well, so what did she write first? Did she actually write a really good story, and then now she had to go and change stuff to make it, more fit into her other stuff because
Well,
that's what Kathleen Kennedy wanted? But
that's where you factor the Kathleen Kennedy. What has she done all along? The Force is female and all this crap. Force shouldn't be male or female. It,
yeah,
that's not what the Force is about. It never has been. And and so I guarantee you, Kathleen Kennedy saw it, and for in her mind, because Kathleen Kennedy has done nothing but undermine George Lucas. I think she probably had it female centric, and
hmm
I mean, she has said outright what her goal was with this. But I wouldn't be surprised if Kathleen Kennedy's like, well, it's a little too Star Warsy. Let's go back more like what you did before.
yeah,
I could see her doing that because that's all Kathleen Kennedy has only tried to undermine George Lucas ever since it
yeah,
was bought. The meeting she's had with Disney, completely convincing them to throw out George's vision of the future. She outright said, "We don't need 40-year-old white male fan base anymore."
yeah.
I mean, she threw it all out, and it's like, okay, so you're making it about identity politics from day one. Make it good Star Wars. That's it. That's the beauty of Star Wars. Just like this, the setting, it's making it feel very Asian movie
Well, and George
feel.
did.
It worked.
George pulled from what he liked, which was Akira Kurosawa films,
Yep.
and that's well known. And so he wanted some Asian, he wanted some Japanese influence, but he went through a lot of different Asian influences, especially as he progressed through even the prequels and that, with fighting styles and things like that. And it's great to see all that stuff. But I don't care how much you make it flashy. If there's not a good story, it's not a good story. And right now, so far, it's just kind of it's not a bad story. It's a blah story. And the problem is you're not doing what something like a Star Wars should do, which is hook the audience right away. You set something up to where, like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I want to see what happens here and go from there. And then the reveal of the second sister, the twin that supposedly was dead. Oh, she's got a master. Oh, she's been training some Jedi arts or the Force arts or whatever. So that's where the journey goes through. But now we got all this backstory they have to get through to even start moving forward with learning about who this person is, and
Yeah.
a story that should have been already told. We should already know. But killing off Jedi and stuff like that. I mean, it just feels like Kathleen Kennedys like, yeah, time to get rid of all the male Jedi. But of course, the High Republic stuff, which I've not read any of it, everything I've seen of it, nobody really talks about it.
No, no one
Um,
likes it.
and I don't know of anybody that likes it because I couldn't tell you, but you see nothing about it on any of the streams. No one says, "Oh, I just read the new issue of a comic," or "I read the new book." It comes out, comes and goes. It just sits there. I see them at the comic shop. They have some there, but I don't know anybody that's buying them unless it's someone that's There are those fans though that will buy everything. I mean, it really is. I mean, I've had arguments with people that say, "Well, you're not a real fan because you didn't like something." I'm like, "No, because I am a real fan. I don't like something because they're not doing what should be done."
Right.
So,
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. I mean, we got 6 more episodes.
yeah,
Hopefully it gets better, but I I'm here, like,
yeah.
here's a review. Let me pull this one up. Like, this is, I'm seeing a lot of these type reviews. Of course, there are reviews too of people who absolutely love it.
Mhm.
But present, where's share screen? Share. All right. So this one, like it says, the Star Wars shows like Acolyte need to take a hiatus from the TV galaxy. Like, yeah, it's just it's boring. When I went online this morning to pull up what people are responding in there, a lot of people are saying it was dull, it was boring.
Mhm.
I don't care about the characters. Now, to be fair, there are people who are loving it too, but you click on
Well,
their pages, you can tell why they're loving it.
majority of the ones that say they're loving it don't give a real reason. They just want to say, "Oh, I love it," and it's
It's
just
the
gonna be
fan
awesome.
base that wants to tear down what the core of Star Wars is.
Yeah, I mean, if you Google the Acolyte reviews, the first thing pops up is audience rating or summary, 960 ratings, 2.2. You
Yeah.
know, it says 88% Rotten Tomatoes, 8 out of 10 GameSpot, but in 6 out of 10 IGN. Very manipulated either way and all that stuff. I'd probably say it's around like a 5. and realistically on this stuff here. But um, yeah, it's like this review here. It says, yeah, it's fine. Give it 2 stars. Imagine if Ubisoft made a Star Wars TV series, cornball writing and acting, dorky premises, and narrative dissonance from the rest of Star Wars. A sexy shirtless Jedi scene creating a cloud of dust somehow
Oh,
causes the Jedi to lose all their extrasensory whatever.
yeah, that's what I mean. Is there were so many like that perfect example. Like they had no ability to censor in the Force. Now it's like it's just silly.
Yeah.
Here's another one. The Acolyte's twin concept sputters in its debut, and I think this is also a great point. He talks about how it's not even a spoiler to say they were twins because they revealed it in a late trailer, and the actress herself revealed it in early interviews.
Yeah.
So I play twins in the show. Their names are like she revealed it all already. So why create all this mystery in the first 20 minutes only to reveal it right away when
Yeah.
you should have done a backstory, you know? And this person goes on, I don't like it so far. I don't think it worked well in the first 2 episodes. I'm not sure how I feel about how it seems like it's going to play out. I suppose I will give it more of a chance. That's exactly where we're at right now.
Yeah.
The few problems I have with this, the show tries to pull a gotcha in the first episode by having Carrie Ann Moss killed off.
Yeah.
And she's like, they're saying what a waste that was. And then, so anyways, it goes on, but he goes on listing a lot of the weaknesses of the show that we've already said. So,
yeah, in some ways it's, for even if we knew there was twins, for a better reveal after, start off after the little backstory of why she wants to hunt the Jedi is, they should have had, like 5 Jedi total probably, and have one who you're not going to have anything to do with in any of the series other than that initial scene. That's the first one she kills, and it's a quick kill because then it cuts to her waking up and on the ship, and then from there, then you get more of a mystery around. Okay, what just happened? You want to know this is not the same, can't be the same person. You already figured out you already know there was twins, so now you got this going.
And you could have ended it the other part with the twin dying, so the viewer thinks the twin died as well.
Yeah.
Also, what that would have gave them a chance to do, we don't know the full backstory yet, but as of right now, this Dark Master is kind of lame.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems like it's a Kylo Ren wannabe.
Yeah. Well, he goes, an acolyte doesn't use weapons. That's all we hear from him.
Yeah.
It's so really? Okay.
But if you did this flashback scene, maybe you could have incorporated that guy into it. He needed a more impressive intro.
Well, it's going the same way Kathleen Kennedy allowed to happen with the sequels is, we have another Snoke on our hands.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what it is. It's a Snoke. It's someone that's supposedly in power, and we're not going to really learn squat about them. And and then they'll defeat him out of nowhere. My unsubstantiated speculation here is this: she's going to kill the main person because May is the acolyte. She's going to kill her master, and then we're going to have a showdown at the end between the twins.
Oh yeah,
and then May will die, but Osho will come in, and Osho will now be this gray Jedi, which we've already seen some yellow lightsabers in this also. So
here's my speculation: if they stay true to canon, which I hope they do, we have the Sith. We have the rule of 2. There could only be one master, one Padawan. We also know from Phantom Menace, Sith haven't been seen for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
So my speculation is, because with the way the rule of 2 works, is the master is always trying to find other Padawans and then pit the 2 Padawans together, and the stronger will kill off the weaker. And it ensures that you always have the strongest possible Padawan.
Right.
The Padawan is always trying to find other Padawans, maybe an acolyte, maybe the name back then, but always finding a Padawan that they can teach, that they can then join forces against the master to kill the master. So that's the dichotomy of the rule of 2. My theory is this guy is the Padawan. The master is actually Darth Plagueis, who ends up being Palpatine's master down the road, aka the Emperor, if you don't know who Palpatine is.
Mm-hmm.
So my theory is this guy is found himself an acolyte, and he needs her to learn how to fight without weapons because he needs somebody strong enough to join him against his master.
Yeah, and the
So
word
that's my
acolyte
theory.
fits into a lot of that. 'Cause the word
Right.
acolyte itself means, an assistant or follower.
Right.
It's used in Christian services,
Yeah.
denominations, as someone that lights the candle, stuff like that. But it's basically it's a follower.
Yeah.
So
So my
that's what this evil person on
yeah.
the dark. We don't know what they are.
Right.
If they're Sith, Dark Jedi, or just someone that
Right.
knows the Force and they're evil, or
So
they could be some of the witches. For all we know.
well, I think they're introducing the witches with there's a
In the
woman who
poster, there was
right. I think she's part of that. But so with the Sith teachings, usually, like for instance, Dooku is a great example. The Emperor was the master, Count Dooku was the apprentice as far as the Sith goes. But then Dooku found Asajj Ventress and trained her. But out of honor of the rule of two, Dooku never taught her Sith powers. So she was technically a dark Jedi. But he was grooming her to rise up with him to take on the Emperor at some point. And
Yeah.
then once that happened, he would become the master. And then he would teach Ventress the ways of the Sith. And she would become the Padawan. I think that's what's happening here. I think the big reveal later in the series will be we see Darth Plagueis finally in live action. I don't know. But
And
that
see,
would then lead up
and
to it.
I don't think we will, because I don't think they have. They don't want to pull from anything existing
Right.
Star Wars. That's why I'm sitting there watching this thing, going, okay, you've got. If we're going to see anything with the council stuff like that, are we going to see Yoda? Yoda would have been on the council by now.
Correct. I think I read this is technically 134 years before Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So that would put Yoda at about roughly 760 years old or something like that at this point. Which, so he could be present.
Yeah, he should be. It should be a major part of the order there.
Yeah.
Because he's been training. As he said, been training Jedi for hundreds of years. So, if we don't see Yoda, I mean, they can skirt around it a little bit, but
right.
if he's not even mentioned at all, then there's just proof that they're really trying not to have anything mentioned that was created by George in terms of character.
Yeah, even if Yoda isn't technically on the council yet, which I don't remember his timeline for being on the council, but if he's not on the council, he has to be very high up within the Jedi Order.
Right, because at this point he had been, now according to Wikipedia here, it says that by the High Republic era, he was considered a great Jedi Master, and he had also gained a seat on the Jedi High Council as the rank of Grand Master. So he should, if they don't mention him or we don't see him, and we see someone else in charge of the council or whatever, then they're definitely skirting all that. So.
Well, and maybe we'll see that. Okay, so at the end of the second episode, she's ordering Soul.
Yeah, Saul. Yep.
So she's ordering him to come back so they could talk about it as a council. So maybe we'll see Yoda there. We will see.
And we should, because that would be the tie-in for everything going on. Since Yoda went through that, Yoda was there for that whole era. In that, we don't necessarily see Yaddle sitting on the council, but we know Yoda for sure should be there. So.
At that point, maybe Yaddle and Yoda will be dating, and baby Grogu soon to come.
Well, and you never know, because we don't have any time frame of gestation for Baby Yoda, because
right.
Baby Yoda was 50 years old, was still a baby.
Right, maybe
so gestation could be like 100 years. Yeah.
You see Yaddle sitting on an egg.
So we'll see. I'm going to continue to watch it.
Me too.
And get through it as long, it's weekly. I kind of almost wish it was dumped and just watch it straight through, be done with it, but that's fine. I'll be able to watch it every week. I think they dropped it at 9:00 on Tuesday nights. So if I don't watch it then, I watch it Wednesday morning. So
regarding the first two episodes themselves, just as standalone, I enjoyed them, but I was constantly also looking at the clock, like how much longer is left. I was a little bored. And I kept checking the time. I
actually paused between the first two episodes and took a little break, and it wasn't long, like 10 minutes. Something came back, and so usually like when they've done this 2 episodes stuff, I'll watch it straight through.
Oh, Mandalorian! It's like, what? There's no way that's already over. How is it done? This one is like, okay, it's done. Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see when if I want to go back and watch it again after, if the last several episodes are better than the first couple and it gets better along the way, I'll eventually want to go back and rewatch it again for any Easter egg stuff and things like that I may be missing. But right now, it's just lumbering is what it is.
Yeah. If it goes the route, it'll have to go as bad as like The Last Jedi for me to completely abandon it.
Yeah.
But if it just stays mediocre, okay, it's Star Wars content. I will consume it to make it part of my Star Wars knowledge, but I will never watch it again.
Yeah.
You know, actually lately I've been wanting to go back to the Kenobi series and rewatch that, but just skip over all the third sister parts because I love the Kenobi parts. The fight between Kenobi and Anakin was amazing, and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about watching a version where I just skip past her parts.
Yeah, I could see that. It's yeah, it was the whole. I mean, in fact, all anybody talks about for Kenobi is the Kenobi, and the Vader stuff.
Yeah.
Hayden Christensen gets talked about some of it. Nobody talks to the third sister stuff anymore. It was like just for a minute while I was out, and then that was it. And it's because she was. There was no reason to actually care for her. And again, I'm getting tired of. And I hope they don't do it in this one here. We need to have a definite villain in that other sister. If it's a constant redemption story, the problem is that you're constantly taking these people and redeeming them right away. Vader was redeemed at the end, but even then he admitted his faults. And, yeah, I did that, and he probably would have done it again.
Well,
he just redeemed himself because he's like, that's my kid, and I don't want him to die like I did. And
the way George did it was good. Is
yeah.
At the beginning, Vader was the big bad guy who was unredeemable.
Mm-hmm.
As it went on, you found out, oh, there's someone higher than him, and the Emperor Lucas has never given any shades of gray. The Emperor was always pure evil.
Yep.
And once that was revealed, then the revelations of Vader and his past and his redemption came. So there was always still a presence of ultimate evil in all of that.
Right.
Know?
And it took the defeat of the Emperor for them to move forward and have that little redemption at the end.
Right. Which going back to our original conversation, what did it take? Sacrifice from Vader. Well, first it took Luke sacrificing himself to get Vader to step forward as father to save his son and sacrifice himself.
Right.
And both were willing to sacrifice for each other. And that made a powerful story.
Yeah. I just get tired of here's this villain, but then we're going to redeem them based on things that happen to him, like Maleficent and things like that. It's just, I get tired of that. They're doing that way too often, and not just Star Wars, but a bunch of stuff. And the thing is that, it's not a bad thing to have. And even Kylo Ren, they had to redeem him. I was like, no, he should have stayed a bad guy through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even though they brought the Emperor back, and the Emperor was the true evil, and Snoke's like, then he was redeeming himself too soon to be able to, and again, it was the same thing where she was like, oh, I know there's good in you, and you're fine, and I like you, and you took your shirt off, and
This shows how bad the sequel movies are. With everything I know, what is the last movie called? Oh, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even think of the name. I don't. When movies are that bad, you can't even bring yourself to go back to them.
Right.
Last Jedi was so bad. But did you ever see the fan edit of the ending of Rise of Skywalker when Rey is taking on the Emperor?
Yeah, where they bring in all the Jedi or something.
All the Force ghosts. Yeah. And I'm like, that should have been the ending. That would have actually redeemed so much had they just done that. And the Force ghosts all rise with her, and her saying, I am all the Jedi. It would make sense. You see them funneling themselves through her to overcome the Emperor. Like, that would have been so amazing. But you can't have that in Kathleen Kennedy's world. You have to have a female who can do it all. Yeah. And it's like, stop. This is the power of everyone, not just the female. It's the males and the females. It's all Jedi working together.
Yes.
Like, that would have been, that fan edit is so powerful.
Yeah,
like,
no, that would have been good. Now, of course, Harry Potter feels very Star Wars in a lot of ways, but at the same time, these are all basic stories. I mean, if you go and read the Writer's Journey, you'll see the stories are pretty much the same everywhere across the board. But they did that in the fourth book, and as well the fourth movie, where the ghosts of his parents that came up with him and supported him, and
provide some protection for him,
so he could escape and get. And of course, then you got Cedric Diggory, don't forget my body, and grab the body and grab the port key. And
but once again, with the Harry Potter,
that was a protection, and that's something that should. And when I saw that fan edit, that was for Last Jedi. I was like, or Rise of Skywalker should have been,
yeah, like with Harry Potter. What happened in that story? The gimmick was the world of magic.
Mhm.
But what the why was to show how powerful the love of a mother is, or a
Mhm.
family and friendship. Even though Harry, at least in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, maybe this is sacrilege, I don't know.
I'll
I
let you
always
know.
felt Harry was a very mediocre wizard, a very
He was.
mediocre character as far as his abilities, but it was love, friendship, the power of the group
Well, and the
that
thing with his
overcame.
character was that, it could have been him. The prophecy said fell either him or to Neville Longbottom. And
Right.
realistically, Harry came in and made friends right away. Neville was always kind of close, but he was still friends with them,
Mhm.
and he tried to stop them. They had different things, but yeah, Harry was always he was not as strong. Hermione's the strongest wizard. They said that through the whole thing
Mhm.
of her class,
Yeah.
and she was the Muggle born. And a
Yep.
lot of it was Harry's, wanting to kind of learn, but at the same time he sloughed off a lot of stuff. But a lot of it was just the way he was, and
He was a
it's
C student.
yeah,
Yeah.
easily. Yeah,
And
easily as the student. But yeah, the whole premise of the story really was, like you said, it fell around things, and this is where we're starting to lose in a lot of these shows now. Is the thing we talked about several months ago? We did that episode, and it's what we call the rule of three.
yeah,
You know, Original Star Wars, you had three people together. Yes, you had four with Chewie, but Chewie and Han were considered. I would consider them one,
one. They're a
and
married
then
couple.
yeah, and then Luke, and then Leia. I mean, and you saw the droids. I mean, it was basically groups that made the three, but you had the three main one: Han, Luke, Leia. That was the three main core of what made them work really good together. Harry Potter, you have Ron, Hermione, and Harry. It's you have this rule of three, and then when you do something like that, the more they try to take these stories and make them about one person
Yeah.
and no one supporting them on this stuff is like, I mean, what we got in this acolyte is we have now what looks like a former Padawan and her former master are coming together in this mystery thrillers are calling it, but and I think that other Padawan's going to be part of the core. But if you don't have a real good solid three, or you try to take it away from that and make it strictly about the one,
Right.
you lose the whole reasoning why.
Right. Well, yeah, you've got to create relationship between them. You have
Yeah.
to have a bond, something that fits. You can't just shoehorn it in. And I do hope, my real sincere hope is, I want to see the Acolyte do well. I
Yeah.
want to see it keep getting better. So we'll see. Uh, I'm not holding out. I'm pessimistically optimistic, is how I say it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, but I'm not
Yeah.
expecting it.
Yep.
So we'll
So
see.
we'll see. Yep. That's
I'm
what I
glad
said.
Robert's liking it. Great. For me so far, it's very dull, very dull.
Well, and a lot of times, yeah, I think people might say you and I both are sometimes a little overly critical, but we both had the same thing. We'll watch something and then go back and we don't have to rewatch it to analyze it, and that's when we really
Yeah.
go. But if you're in the middle of it analyzing it, that means you've taken me out of the story.
Well, and here's the other part to remember too. Brett and I are writers. We care about story. The bells and whistles are fun,
Mm-hmm.
but we are looking at it from a story standpoint. Where is it flowing? What's the arc? What's the why? If you're enjoying it because it's just a visual experience, there is nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Go enjoy it. It's a ride. That's good. Uh, you know, it's no different than food. There are some very, junk food. It can be very fun to eat and enjoyable to eat. There's no nutrition. There's no sustainability from it, but you can enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. I enjoy a hot fudge sundae, but I also enjoy a full meal with proper balance of nutrition, and that has nuance to it. And that's what we're looking at. Not to say we're so, upper end and that, hoity toity here, but
No, I mean,
we
if you
are
look,
looking at it on another level.
you look at my movie collection, especially lately, there's a lot of stuff I'm buying is a lot of older stuff, but it's some of it's very cheesy, some of it's not. But there's basic stories. Like if you watch Fandango, it's kind of a dated movie with Kevin Costner from the '80s. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I bought it because I wanted to see it again. It wasn't a bad price, but it's got a full story, and that's the whole thing. It doesn't have to be the greatest story ever, but I want a full story, even when they're cheesy movies. I mean, there's always a basic premise. I mean, heck, go to the remake of The Blob. It's a basic premise. I mean, this meteor comes, the blob comes, and now they got to fight this thing, and takes you through the whole story. It's a basic premise, but it
Right.
tells its full story. So,
Yep.
all right. Hey, join us next week. We'll probably talk more acolytes. I think if we watch it and we can talk about it, we'll get it over with.
Is it coming out every Tuesday night or every Wednesday now?
I think
Do
it's
you know?
Tuesdays.
Evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be. Yeah, I'd seen something a little bit ago. So, but yeah, I think it is. It says June 11th. So that's next. Yeah, so it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern time.
Tuesdays.
Tuesday nights
Okay.
and that. So, and I can tell you this: I happened to pull something up real quick right at 9 o'clock, and there's already reviews of it out there. So it's being streamed somewhere ahead of us, and people are watching it, probably in Australia or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like, and I thought I had read they already declared there won't be a season 2 of this.
Yeah.
I thought I read that.
Well, I think that's partial tied in the fact that as much as Kathleen Kennedy wants to push like she's in charge, Filoni's taking over going forward after the Acolyte and Andor season 2 for anything future Star Wars movies / TV shows.
Well, and the financial situation of all these companies, they're learning a lesson is if you put out crap, people aren't going to watch it. So they are, like, Marvel is pulling back a lot of stuff. Like, okay, we really got to think about our next steps.
I'll tell you this: if you're an independent wannabe maker of movies, do you think you can tell a good story? Start making some stories. Independent's gonna make a big rush again. I think that's what we're seeing.
I agree.
We've already seen it with that A24. I don't agree with a lot of stuff, but the Bloomberg or
Bloomhouse.
Bloomhouse. They're basically independent. Yeah, they partnered up with some of the bigger companies now, but they still kind of run the show and they tell good stories.
They've been great with what they've done. They have a new one coming out here too. They made Megan and Five Nights at Freddy's.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a great job with the horror genre, and I like how they've been doing it as PG-13. So it's a nice. Not everything has to be swearing and nudity, and it's okay to have stuff that teenagers you can go enjoy with teenagers. It can be a little scary, but it doesn't have to be profane.
Yeah, and they're doing some, besides movies, they're now doing some TV show stuff too, and they're doing stuff that's not even horror genre. They did the Disney Choir, which is what the Detroit Choir. That was on Disney Plus. They got a bunch of other stuff they're doing there too. So they a lot of horror stuff, but they have some different stuff in there too. So
one other thing too, it's kind of been coming out lately, and I think there's a documentary that just came out covering the fall of MoviePass. There's a documentary I just saw. I saw it on the title, so I was thinking about watching that because that was kind of a interesting phenomenon that flared out.
Yeah, I remember when it came out. It looks like HBO's got something on that. Their documentary in that, but they came back here this year, but they changed
restructured.
Everything. Yeah, but the problem was when they came out, it was like, oh, $10 a month, go see as much as you want. And I know people that literally went every day and were seeing movies or 3-4 times a week, and it was paying with that card, and then they were just losing money left and right. And then
I don't understand what they thought. I mean, of course, there's going to be people who go insane.
Well,
a lot of movies used to come out back then.
Well, and if you live in an area where you can go to a movie within 10 minutes of your house, why wouldn't you?
That becomes your nightly viewing.
Yeah. They were like, I'm gonna go see this movie, and a bunch of movies came out this week, especially in the summertime. Boom, boom, boom. Oh. And I knew former teachers, so they were off in the summer. Guess what? They go to the movies all the time.
You could go see 4 movies a week.
Yeah, and if they had kids or whatever, they get them all a card and do that, and it was crazy. So, all right, we'll see y'all next week.